And we're going to South Africa, where former President Jacob Zuma has bought himself another 2 months before his corruption trial is heard in court. Now, Zuma appeared in a Pietermaritzburg High Court yesterday, where he was served with 16 charges of money laundering, racketeering, fraud and corruption.
But his case was postponed to July to allow state prosecutor to deal with papers filed by Zuma's legal team asking that the chief prosecutor be removed. Now, the former statesman, who has pleaded not guilty to all the charges put to him, had a heavy supporter base outside the court just yesterday.
Well, joining us this morning is journalist and editor Candice Bailey. Candice, good morning to you out there in Johannesburg. Briefly take us through what really happened in court yesterday with Jacob Zuma.
Morning, Breakfast Central. It was quite a day. It was quite a day in court yesterday. Zuma appeared physically in court. He has pleaded not guilty, as you said. And what it means is that he's actually trying to get this chief state prosecutor removed from the case. What he's saying is that this chief state prosecutor has interfered in previous cases. He showed political interference in previous cases. And he's now asking, he's put a special plea into the court asking that this state prosecutor, Prosecutor Billy Downer, be removed from the case. What's happened yesterday is that his legal team, he's led by quite a significant senior legal team. He's got 2 senior counsels as well as a briefing attorney. And what they did is they filed quite a lot of papers in court yesterday as part of the special plea. And the prosecutors, the state prosecutors, have obviously said that they don't have the capacity to read those types of papers overnight, and they've then asked for a postponement to read those papers, to become familiar with them, and therefore then to argue the case on the 19th of July. What will happen if Jacob Zuma does get the special plea right and Billy Downer is removed? He may have all the charges against him dropped.
Wow, all the charges against him drop, but we just need to wait to see how this whole court case goes on in South Africa. Now, looking at the whole court case yesterday, looking at the supporters, Zuma seemed to have quite a number of significant political support. Just looking at it yesterday, we saw a lot of people. We saw the podium, we saw the stage that was being made, we saw even his son who was also there to give support to his father. What do you make of all of this that happened?
It was quite an unusual display yesterday. They had an entire, what appeared to be a concert, and it was really just to rally support for the former president outside the court. They had more than 250 people, which, really is just in line with COVID protocols at the moment. But really what they were trying to do is they were trying to make sure that people were just there to support him, to take away from what was happening in court. Among the support base, as you said, the political support base, Zuma was flanked by quite senior ANC members, particularly those who have been suspended or stepped aside because of the corruption charges that they are also facing. Among them, you've had the suspended Secretary General, Ace Magashule. You've had Malusi Gigaba, who is a former minister, who is also testifying at our current state captured Judicial Commission of Inquiry. And you also had Supra Mahapamelo, who's from another province, who's also suspended based on corruption charges that he's facing. So there were quite a number of heavyweights in terms of people who are facing corruption within the ANC out there to support him. His son took to the podium very early on after the court case, telling his supporter base, that the power is with them, thanking them for being there, and really, just making a spectacle of it. They also had singers and dancers there. They had a praise singer there as well. So they really just tried to make sure that people were seeing them as this crowd that was supportive of them and happy to help Jacob Zuma get free.
All right, Candice, really need to ask you this, because this is quite a serious case, because this is a former ANC leader, party leader, turned president, and now standing trial in the South African courts for a case that involves an arms deal back in the 1990s with a French company. Now, is it a case that, though he has support, like we saw, like the carnival-like atmosphere outside courts, but is it that, Zuma is a bit disillusioned right now?
Potentially. The fact that this case has come to court 16 years later, Lisa, it's really a good start. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
And I think Jacob Zuma he believes that he'll get free before the end of the year, that the trial he won't face these charges. But I think that the National Prosecuting Authority in South Africa is really dead set on making sure that he does stand account for what happens. Obviously, the way the court case unfolds in July, we'd have to understand what then happens and how things, it's only up to the judge to understand how he will rule. But I do think Jacob Zuma believes that he may not face any charges.
All right, Candice, just finally before we go, just like you talk about, this case has taken over 14 years to come to see him parallel in trial. But what are South Africans really saying about it? Because it's taken so long.
There's mixed feelings, Olisa, if I could put it that way. I think there's a faction of South Africa. There are people who do believe Jacob Zuma shouldn't be trialed for this case, but I think the vast majority of South Africans do think that he should have his day in court. I think the vast majority of South Africans want to see accountability within the state. They want to see a state that does take care of them, that deals with corruption, that deals with bad behavior from leaders. And I think that they believe that if this case comes to fruition, it will set a precedent for dealing with corruption, racketeering, money laundering in the future, especially among state leaders.
Wow.
All right. Thank you so much, Candice, for your time on Breakfast Central.
Thanks, guys.